There is a subtle unease that creeps in during ordinary moments. Standing in a grocery aisle. Reading a label you barely understand. Trusting that what is sold as natural must still mean something. Your body carries a different memory. Not a conscious one. Not a nostalgic fantasy. But a biological memory shaped by centuries of slow, patient living. The discomfort does not announce itself loudly. It shows up as fatigue that never quite lifts. As digestion feels unpredictable. As sweetness that satisfies the tongue but leaves the body strangely unsettled. This is not about blame. And it is not about fear. It is about recognizing that something ancient and stabilizing was altered so gradually that we stopped noticing the change. Honey was once a food of continuity. A substance that connected human labor, land, insects, seasons, and health. Today, it often connects us only to convenience. The question is not whether progress happened. It did. The question is what progress quietly replaced. Modern society tells a very specific story about food. That efficiency is intelligence. That shelf life equals safety. That sweetness is sweetness, regardless of origin. Honey, in this story, is simple. It is sugar with a wholesome reputation. A better alternative. A natural option. Pasteurized. Filtered. Standardized. In the modern imagination, food should be consistent. Every jar is the same. Every flavor is predictable. Every risk is removed. The modern body is expected to adapt endlessly. Adapt to altered sugars. Adapt to removed enzymes. Adapt to foods that no longer change with the seasons. If discomfort arises, the narrative suggests the problem lies within the individual. Sensitivity. Weak digestion. Poor choices. Rarely does the story allow for another possibility. That the food itself has changed in ways the body never agreed to. In medieval Europe, honey was not a sweetener. It was a foundation. Before refined sugar arrived from distant trade routes, honey was the primary source of sweetness across villages, monasteries, and farms. Beekeeping was not industrial. It was intimate. Hives were kept close to the home, often made of straw or hollowed logs. Known individually, not numbered. Honey was harvested once or twice a year. Always with restraint. Always with awareness of the bee's survival through winter. In monastic communities like those guided by the Benedictine order, honey served medicinal, culinary, and spiritual roles. It preserved herbs, healed wounds, sweetened bread during feast days, fermented into mead for ceremonial use. Importantly, it was raw, unheated, unfiltered, alive with enzymes, pollen, and microorganisms from the surrounding land. When European settlers arrived in early America, they carried this relationship with them. Honey was local, seasonal, deeply tied to place. One jar from spring tasted different from one harvested at summer's end. This was not an inconsistency. It was information. Raw honey is not just sugar. It is a living substance. Inside it are enzymes created by bees during nectar conversion, compounds that help pre-digest sugars, trace pollens that gently introduce the immune system to the local environment. The sugars in raw honey are complex, balanced by acids, slowed by enzymes, buffered by minerals. When consumed, raw honey does not rush through the body. It enters digestion gradually, supporting stable energy, reducing sudden spikes. The gut recognizes it, not as a shock, but as a familiar pattern. The body evolved alongside foods like this, foods that carried biological signals, not just calories. Raw honey interacted with the microbiome, feeding beneficial bacteria rather than overwhelming them. This was not nutrition as calculation. It was nutrition as a relationship. If this is changing how you see food, let the algorithm know by liking this video. The shift did not begin with deception. It began with scale. As cities grew and global trade expanded, demand for sweetness increased beyond what local ecosystems could provide. Honey needed to travel farther, last longer. It looks cleaner. To achieve this, it was heated. Pasteurization prevented crystallization. Ultrafiltration removed pollen and particles. Uniformity became the goal. But these processes stripped honey of what made it honey in the first place. Enzymes were destroyed by heat. Pollen was removed entirely. Biological complexity vanished. What remained was a sugar syrup with a familiar name. Even worse, adulteration became common. Corn syrup, rice syrup, blended imports. The jar still read honey. The body received something else entirely. Modern processed honey behaves differently once consumed. Without enzymes, digestion becomes work instead of cooperation. Sugars enter the bloodstream rapidly. Energy spikes rise sharply, then fall. The gut receives sweetness without guidance. Over time, this pattern confuses the body. Cravings increase. Fatigue becomes familiar. Inflammation simmers quietly. This is not an emergency. It is not a catastrophe. It is a mismatch. The body expects food to arrive with context, with signals that say, this is safe. This is known. Modern honey often arrives stripped of that context. The result is not illness overnight. It is a subtle imbalance over years. The solution is not a return to the past. It is a return to pattern recognition. Historically, honey was local, raw, consumed in small amounts, used with intention. It was not daily sweet. It was seasonal nourishment. People ate honey when it was harvested. Not year-round. Not endlessly. They respected its power. The modern lesson is quiet. Seek foods that still resemble their origin. That changes with season and place. That does not require explanation on the label. Not as dogma. Not as an identity. Simply as alignment. Progress gave us abundance. But abundance without memory becomes noise. Honey was once a conversation between bees, flowers, land, and human patience. That conversation still exists. But it speaks softly now. The body listens carefully. It always has. Health is not something to chase. It is something to remember. And remembrance begins not with restriction, but with recognition. If you want to keep exploring the truths modern life forgot, subscribe and stay with us.